eons, the horse became larger and faster in order to get away from these predators. And the rabbits and hares evolved color changes or camouflage to evade the predators. Now, lemurs, this thing here, or some of these, anyway, they merged with the primates of North America, and two new categories appeared in Bridger Basin, Wyoming, around 60 million years ago. One of the new primates is described as like the lemur in size and general appearance, but biologists state that neither of the new categories were lemurs or tarsiers. Now, around 60 million years ago, a period of volcanism began in the southern Rockies, the Andes, northern Scotland, Ireland, central Germany, the Rift Valley of eastern Africa, Algeria, the Caucasus, and the most extensive volcanism occurred in Indonesia and on North Island in New Zealand. Now, spirits of these regions expanded from the earth and began incarnating into creation. Paleontologists state that primate populations of North America and Europe exploded with many bizarre, strange, and specializations. Some are described only as remarkable. Now, multiple categories of bear-like mammals appeared in North America and passed to extinction within a few million years. Around 55 million years ago, one line of horses degeneratively mutated to small elephant-like creatures, and one branch of the elephant-like creatures changed to rhinoceros-like animals with a big horn. Now, sloths, armadillos, and anteaters appeared as some placental primates in North America degenerated. Now, India's tectonic plate, the tectonic plate, that's the continent all the way down, contains the Cygnus star. The plate began drifting northward around 54 million years ago as a Kaluga, or flying lemur, appeared in Kansas, which was the home of the pteranodon. Now, the flying lemur, I don't have a picture of him, but I'm going to describe him. I couldn't find one. The flying lemur evolved flight, not to get away from predators, but because pterosaur, pterodactyl, and pteranodon heritage concentrated and changed the DNA configuration, which means reptilian spirits were directing this evolutionary pathway. Now, sleek fur coats the slender body of the Kaluga. It's about 18 inches long and has a membrane that extends from, I think it's from its neck to the tip of its tail, enabling it to make flying leaps. The flying lemur's body has become so highly adapted to gliding that it can no longer move easily on the ground. Now, the flying lemur spread from Kansas into Europe, but bats appeared in Wyoming around 48 million years ago, and modern science states that all bats evolved from a single Kaluga ancestor. Now, the bat is a small, look at that bat. It's a small placental reptile mammal with both internal and external structures that are adapted to life in the air. Now, like pterosaurs, pterodactyls, and the flying lemur, bats hang suspended by their hind legs to rest. Most of them rest in the daytime, and they're flying at night. Now, the bat's wings are formed by a membrane that extends, here we go, that extends along the side of its body to its lower leg and stretches between the greatly elongated bones of its arms and hands to its little finger, and from the tip of a cartilaginous spur on its foot to its tail. The bat's hind legs are rotated so that the knees bend outward. Bats can see in color and produce sounds for communication and emotional expression. Now, bats have a social life. They usually segregate by sex. The sexes may occupy the same roosts, but gather in separate clusters. Sometimes the bats arrange themselves in a group the females centrally and the males peripherally, or in the outer circle around the females. I always think the people in my parents' group did that too. The men would all be on the outside, the women would be in the middle talking together. Now, female bats have gestation periods of 6 weeks to 6 months. Now, in many species, females late in pregnancy migrate to special nursery roosts, in which large numbers of pregnant females may aggregate, usually to the exclusion of non-pregnant females, males, and bats of other species. Okay, after they have their children, the bats leave their infants hanging quietly, one by one, on the cave wall or ceiling. In other cases, the closely spaced infants may move around and mingle on the wall. Among others, the infants may form playgroups and rough and tumble on the floor. Some bats carry their young with them. Generally, each mother, on returning to her roost, seeks out her own child by position, smell, and acoustical exchange. In the huge nursery colonies, however, the mothers appear to feed the first 1 or 2 infants they encounter on returning. Now, infant bats are breastfed for 5 to 6 weeks. Now, bats, it's been demonstrated, bats have a kind of sonar sense. Their ears are able to detect supersonic cries, and that's what guides them from one object to another. Now, vampire bats were in flight between Wyoming and Germany around 45 million years ago, and tarsiers and lemirs began migrating into Africa and Southeast Asia. Now, as they migrated, the tarsiers divided into 2 groups. Now, the largest group spread eastward and settled in and around Java, Borneo, Sumatra. Let's see, I guess this would be the best place. This would be over in this region, around, let's see, here it is. This should be Java, Borneo, and Sumatra. Here's Sumatra, right in here. The bats settled right in here, and in the Philippines. Okay, and there was a landmass. Australia was over here a little bit, and there was a landmass here, and that became Lemuria. Now, lemirs currently live in Madagascar, that's over here, and the Comoro Islands. Now, the flying lemur now lives in the East Indies, the Philippines, Burma, Sumatra, and Borneo. Only 1 species of tarsier remains, and it resides in Indonesia and the Philippines. Now, the other group of migrating tarsiers settled in the Fayum region of northern Egypt. Around 40 million years ago, that was a tropical bush country. Now, today, the Fayum Depression in the western, is in a Great Depression in the western desert, southwest of Cairo, Egypt, about 28 miles from the pyramids of Giza. A highway between the desert links the pyramids and the Fayum. Now, tarsiers of Egypt mutated back to daytime creatures. Seth called the tarsier people of Egypt Lumanians. The name means lights of stars. The civilization, he dictated really, the civilization was called Lumania, and the name itself went down in legend and was used again at a later time. The members of the civilization were largely a fringe group from the earlier successful civilization, most of whom had decided to continue existence in other areas of your physical universe. These, however, were particularly enamored of earthly life, and also thought they could improve upon the last experiment in which they had been involved, though they were free to move on to other layers of existence. So these are the gods, these are lights, these are intelligences. And Seth wrote, the strength of the second civilization lay mainly in the area now known as Africa and Australia. The Lumanians were a thin, weakly people, physically speaking, but psychically either brilliant or completely ungifted. In some, you see, the built-in controls caused so many blockages of energy in all directions that even their naturally high telepathic abilities suffered. He says they were particularly concerned in the beginning with developing a human being who would have built-in safeguards against violence. With them, the desire for peace was almost what you would call an instinct. There were changes in the physical mechanism. When the mind signaled strong aggression, the body would not react. Now, psychologically, you can see vestiges of this in certain individuals who will faint or even attack their own physical system before allowing themselves to do what they think of as violence to another. Now, Seth said that Lumanian technology was far superior to that of the present. Sound or sonar power was used for healing, to power vehicles of locomotion, to move physical matter, and to form an underground civilization. Now, he said that they had superior technology 40 million years ago.